There are people who don't just experience life, they absorb it. They walk into a room and feel the tension before anyone speaks. They hear what wasn't said, notice the shift in tone, sense the emotional weather around them. And because they feel deeply, they love deeply. Yet strangely, these are often the people who get labeled as too much, too emotional, hard to love. If you've ever felt like your heart was both a blessing and a burden, this message is for you. Not because there is anything wrong with you, but because you deserve to understand why you love the way you do and why it has been so misunderstood. Being highly sensitive does not make you weak. It makes you open. It makes your nervous system tuned to life in high definition, while others experience it in low volume. But in relationships, this depth can become painful. Now, you don't just feel emotions, you inhale them. When you feel, it is not a passing sensation that brushes the surface of your skin. It moves through you like air filling the lungs. Emotions don't visit you politely. They occupy your whole inner space. Joy arrives as a warmth that lights your chest. Sadness settles into your bones. Tension tightens your breath. You don't witness emotions from a distance. You become the place where they live. This is why people sometimes misunderstand you. To them, feelings are background noise. To you, they are surround sound. They try to tell you to calm down, to think logically, to not make a big deal out of it. What they don't understand is that there is no switch you can flip to mute the inner experience. Your body registers everything, tone, silence, pauses, the energy in the room, and it responds honestly, even when your mind wishes it wouldn't. You may have learned this sensitivity long ago, without even realizing it. Perhaps as a child you needed to be alert to the emotional climate around you. You studied voices, footsteps, expressions, because your sense of safety depended on it. That same attentiveness now lives in you as an adult. It is not you being dramatic. It is your nervous system remembering how to survive. So when someone you love pulls away, even slightly, you feel the absence like cold air entering a warm room. When they are hurt, your body aches as if the pain were your own. When conflict arises, you don't just think about it, you carry it. It stays in your chest at night, in your stomach, in the morning, in the way your shoulders tense without your permission. And because you feel this deeply, you also love deeply. Your emotions do not skim the surface, they dive. You don't give half presence or half attention. Your heart moves fully toward the people you care about, and that level of aliveness can overwhelm those who are not used to meeting life so directly. There is nothing wrong with you for feeling this way. You are not too much. You are simply built without emotional armor, experiencing life without the filters many others rely on. It can be exhausting, yes, but it is also the source of your empathy, your intuition, your capacity to understand what others cannot say out loud. You don't just feel emotions, you breathe them in. And in a world that tries so hard not to feel, that makes you rare. You need depth, not small talk, and that scares people who live at the surface. You were never built for conversations that stay safely on the surface. Weather, schedules, casual jokes, you can do them, but they leave you feeling strangely empty, like eating food without nourishment. Your mind keeps reaching past the words, listening for the heartbeat underneath them. You don't just want to know what someone did today, you want to know what moved them, where they hurt, what they're afraid to say out loud. You are drawn to depth the way lungs are drawn to air. You long for connection where masks fall away, where silence is comfortable, where truth is allowed to exist without being polished. You want to sit with someone and feel that both of you are actually there, not performing, not pretending, not playing roles you learned just to be accepted. But this hunger for depth often unsettles people who have spent years surviving by staying on the surface. For them, small talk isn't meaningless, it's armor. It keeps the water shallow, so they don't have to meet the parts of themselves they've locked away. When you ask real questions, when your presence invites honesty, they may feel exposed as if you've turned on a light they weren't ready for. They might say you're intense, too serious, too emotional. What they're really saying is, I don't know how to go where you live. It's not your desire for depth that is the problem. It's their unfamiliarity with their own. You sense when someone is hiding behind humor, or over-explaining, or filling the air with distraction. You feel the gap between their words and their truth. and that gap hurts. You'd rather have one real conversation than 100 empty ones. You'd rather sit quietly in honesty than talk endlessly in pretense. You are not asking for drama. You are not asking for perfection. You are asking to meet a human heart without its mask. You want to know and be known, not admired, not entertained, not tolerated. And yes, this can be frightening for those who live at the surface, because depth requires vulnerability, and vulnerability requires courage. Many people were taught that feelings are dangerous, needs are shameful, and openness invites pain. So when they stand in front of someone like you, someone who is willing to feel, they are confronted with everything they have avoided. But your need for depth is not a flaw to be corrected. It is a sign that your soul refuses to live on emotional crumbs. You are wired for genuine connection. You do not thrive in shallow waters because you were meant for the ocean. You notice every change, and people mistake that for overthinking. You live with a kind of inner radar that is always quietly scanning. Not because you want to, because your body does it on its own. A slightly different tone in a message, a pause before a reply, the way someone avoids eye contact for half a second, these things don't slip past you. They land. They register. Your whole system says something shifted. To others, nothing happened. To you, something did. You were trained, often very early in life, to pay attention to the slightest emotional currents around you. Maybe love felt uncertain. Maybe safety depended on reading the room before anyone spoke. You learned to notice the micro changes, the size, the tension, the smile that didn't reach the eyes. Your mind and body became finely tuned instruments, picking up signals most people have learned to ignore. And because you sense so much, you ask questions. You check in. You say, "Are you okay?" Or "Did I do something?" Not because you enjoy worrying, but because your nervous system is already reacting to what others haven't consciously seen yet. You're not inventing something. You're responding to information they haven't acknowledged. But instead of being understood, you are often told, "You're overthinking, you're imagining it, you're too sensitive." Those words sting because they don't just dismiss your thoughts, they dismiss your perception. They deny the very instrument your life taught you to rely on, and so you begin to doubt yourself, even when your body is giving you clear signals. The relationship shifts slightly, and you feel a daze before the other person is willing to admit that something is wrong. What people call overthinking in you is often simply noticing, coupled with a deep need for emotional honesty. You see the unspoken, you hear what was avoided, you feel the space where connection used to be, and when you speak about it, others may become uncomfortable because naming what is real requires facing it. Yes, your mind can spin when reassurance is missing. Yes, your thoughts can circle when something feels off, but the loop doesn't begin in your head, it begins in your body. It starts with that subtle shift in closeness, that emotional temperature drop that others don't register until it becomes obvious. You are not broken for noticing. You are not difficult for sensing what is beneath the surface. The truth is, many people are more comfortable staying numb, so anyone who feels precisely is labeled as too much. Your awareness is not your enemy. It is the same awareness that makes you compassionate, empathetic, intuitive, capable of profound connection. It allows you to understand when someone is hurting before they have the language for it. It lets you show up before the crisis has a name. You do not overthink because you are weak. You think deeply because you feel deeply. And you feel deeply because you are alive in a way many people have shut down. Your love is intense, and not everyone knows how to receive something real. When you love, you don't offer something light or convenient. You don't play the careful game of giving just enough to avoid being hurt. Your love arrives as presence. It is felt in the way you listen, the way you remember the details others forget, the way you lean in when the other person is unraveling instead of pulling away. You don't treat love as an accessory. For you, love is an atmosphere you create with your attention. This intensity can be overwhelming for people who have only known love as performance or transaction. And many people have learned to survive by keeping their hearts half closed. They are comfortable with relationships that stay slightly numb, slightly distracted, slightly distant. When they meet someone like you, someone who looks directly into their emotional world, they feel exposed, as if you have seen behind the curtain they have spent years carefully holding in place. You are not dramatic. You are not asking for fairy tales. You are simply real. You don't know how to offer diluted affection. When you care with your nervous system, your history, your hopes, your fears, all in the same gesture. You text back with intention. You check in when something feels off. You show up when most people turn silent. To someone who is used to evasive connections, this honesty can feel like pressure, not because you are heavy, but because they are unpracticed in being seen. Some people don't know how to receive tenderness without suspicion. They wait for the catch. They brace for disappointment. They confuse calm consistency with danger because chaos was once familiar. So when your love comes without games, without withdrawal, without manipulation, it can feel unfamiliar in a way that scares them. Real intimacy asks them to be present, and presence is frightening when you have spent a lifetime escaping yourself. Your intensity is simply your refusal to love with half a heart. You want reciprocity, not perfection. You want emotional honesty, not performance. You don't need grand gestures, you need someone who can stay when emotions arise, when tears show up, when silence stretches. You need someone who does not run from the parts of you that are unpolished. The truth is, not everyone is ready for something real. Not everyone is ready to be touched without their armor on. And when they cannot meet you there, it is easy to blame yourself, to think you should shrink, soften, turn the volume down on your feelings. But the intensity of your love is not the problem. It is simply calibrated for depth, and depth is uncomfortable for those who have learned to live on emotional rations. Your love feels like sunlight to someone who has lived underground. At first it hurts the eyes. Then, for the right person, it becomes warmth. The ones who are frightened by it are not your measure. They are simply telling you the truth about their capacity. Your task is not to become smaller so others feel safe. Your task is to honor the truth that your love was never meant to be background noise. It was meant to be lived with, stayed with, received by someone whose heart is willing to awaken alongside yours. A and a lest ly, you cannot pretend you are okay when you are not. When something hurts you, your body refuses to cooperate with pretending. Your face softens, your voice changes, your energy drops even if you say, "I'm fine." The truth leaks through the cracks. You were not built with the emotional shut-off switch that so many people learn to use. Your system won't let you bury what is alive inside you. It keeps bringing it back to the surface, asking to be felt, asking to be heard. You may even envy those who can smile through pain, can crack jokes when their heart is breaking, or continue as if nothing has happened. But for you, the cost of pretending is too high. Your stomach tightens, sleep becomes restless, your chest feels heavy, your body tells the story you are trying not to speak. It is as if your entire being refuses to lie on your behalf. This isn't you being weak, it is you being honest at a level deeper than words. Somewhere along the way, your emotional life learned that suppression is a betrayal. So when something is wrong, silence feels like self-abandonment. Your tears don't ask your permission. Your voice shakes before your mind has caught up. You can try to push it down, but it keeps returning, not to punish you, but to be acknowledged. In relationships, this can confuse people who survive by numbing. They are used to hiding, to smoothing everything over, to calling pain, overreaction, and loneliness, independence. When they see you struggle openly, they may label you as dramatic or sensitive because they have forgotten what honesty looks like. It's easier for them to believe you are too emotional than to face the parts of themselves they no longer feel. But your inability to fake being okay is also your greatest integrity. It means you are still connected to yourself. It means you have not abandoned your own inner life for the sake of appearances. You don't shut down the signals just to keep the peace. Your sadness asks to be met. Your anger asks for truth. Your anxiety asks for safety rather than silence. You are the kind of person whose heart will not accept half-truths. You cannot say, "It doesn't matter when it does." You cannot minimize betrayal, neglect, or distance. Your whole being reacts when love becomes unsafe or unavailable. And although that sensitivity can feel exhausting, it is the same sensitivity that allows you to love authentically, care deeply, and recognize when something real is present. You cannot pretend you are okay when you are not, because some part of you still insists on living honestly. That part may shake, cry, ache, or fall silent, but it refuses to disappear, and the right people in your life will not ask you to numb it. They will sit beside it. You don't break because you are fragile. You break because you do not suppress. And in a world that praises emotional disconnection as strength, your honesty can be labeled as weakness. But your sensitivity is not a problem to be fixed. It is a truth-telling instrument, so no, you are not hard to love. You are hard to lie to. You are hard to neglect. You are hard to emotionally starve. Because your system recognizes when love is absent, and your heart refuses to live where it cannot breathe. The right person will not ask you to be less. They will not call your sensitivity too much. They will feel relieved, because for the first time love will feel alive, not performed. You were never too sensitive. You are simply deeply alive in a world that fears depth. And one day someone will meet you there, not because they are perfect, but because they are willing to feel with you.